Is it time for a little bit more tier list? I think it is. Let us go and tier list and rank all of the mechanics in Europa Universalis 5. If you missed the first episode of this tier list, then you can go and catch it in the description below. We have ranked a bunch of mechanics already so far, and we also go into the explanation of what we're doing and how it works and all of that good stuff. So it really is a must-watch if you want to enjoy this one. But again, thank you to Joshua Fitzgerald for setting up this whole Google Sheet system. It's pretty good, and I'm having fun rating all of the mechanics. So, where we left off, we are starting to look at state mechanics, and we're going to start off with government types. And essentially, what we've got here is how different do the various different government types play. As a reminder, the government types that we have in the game are monarchy, republic, theocracy, steppe horde, and tribe. And from my perspective, as somebody who has played both monarchies and republics in EU5 already, when I got the game access about 2 months ago, monarchies and republics didn't play too differently from one another. In EU4, they did play significantly differently in the form of their mana generation, because no matter how much you tried, you would never get the same mana generation played optimally on a monarchy as you did with a republic. On a monarchy, the stats of your heir are somewhat randomized. You can get certain bonuses to increase little bits here and there, but generally they are randomized, whereas with a republic, you can essentially guarantee that you get the max level 666 ruler just by re-electing your Republican leader after every time that you get an election. That system is gone, obviously, because we don't have mana generation. So the way that you have characters leading your country now is their stats will impact the cabinet efficiency in the various aspects of it. And while you will keep a monarch for much longer, and in a republic you are electing new rulers every time, essentially monarchs matter, or rulers I should say, matter much, much less than they did in EU4. And personally I think that's a good thing, but it does make their gameplay somewhat samey in a way. Certainly more similar than in EU4. When it comes to steppe hordes, though, these guys do have a lot of new mechanics. For example, the way that they function in the game now is as an army-based country, and if their army dies, if they lose all of their troops, if they are stack wiped, their country simply ceases to exist. It will fracture into many different polities, which is certainly an interesting mechanic to go with. They also have a system whereby when they're at war, they will conquer anything they siege. So they are, I still think, going to be the world conquest tag, especially the Golden Horde. And so they do play differently, but monarchies and republics, which I do think are going to be the majority of countries that people end up playing, I don't think have as much differentiation as in EU4. So going to our grade system, I think I don't know where I would put it, because I don't think it's as differentiatingness over EU4, but I also don't think it's bad in a way. I'm just gonna pop it in B. I think in the long term, not all of the descriptions are going to make 100% sense every single time, but I do think government types deserve to be in B. Anyway, on to our court language. And for this one, I don't know too much about how it works. From what I remember, essentially, if you have the same court language as another country, you will have a diplomatic relations boost. And if you are trying to annex another country, if they're your vassal, and you have the same court language, it will go slightly faster, though I'm not actually certain on that one now that I say it out loud. Other than that, I don't really know too much about how different it makes your country actually play. I like that it exists. I like the language system in general, but I'm not too certain on exactly what it does. I think I'm just gonna pop it as a. It is. I'm gonna put it as C plus because while I don't know exactly, like there is more that I need to learn about how it works if it has other functions, but it's something that just simply doesn't exist in EU4. So anything extra like this, I do think is a good thing. So I'm gonna pop it in C plus, and I'm gonna be happy with that. Societal values. I really like these. This is an example of the societal values. I believe this was either the Ottomans or the Roman Empire, or Byzantium. I can't remember which one I pulled this from, but this is a way of making every country feel different. Every country will start with some form of values here or there, and you can change them over time, both with your cabinet actions, with the estate privileges that you give out. Various laws will move you this way or that, and when you get to the extremities on the ends, these are where you get your bonuses, and there's nothing in the center. And I think that is where I am going to give it some negative points, because I personally believe that the center should also get something. I don't think it should be as dramatic as the bonuses you get for being on the fringes, but being in the center should give you something rather than literally nothing, because as it stands, there is no reason to be in the center and every reason to be on the edges. So I'm thinking for that reason, it's not going to get an S rank because it's not perfect in every way. It is not difficult for me to identify an area of improvement. I think A is the best place for it, because there is a place that I can see that does not require but could certainly use an improvement. Now, I mentioned a cabinet action when we were talking about societal values, and we're now talking about the cabinet. And I personally think the cabinet is a fantastic replacement for the advisor system. I like this a lot more. Essentially, you have a character that you can then assign jobs to, and then his stats, obviously he has the same kinds of stats as your monarchs, so admin, diplo, and mill, and depending on his stats is how good he will be at those jobs. This is a much better system than going through admin, advisors, and just picking out whatever bonus you want, right? Hiring based on character rather than hiring based on job. It is a much better system. I'm a massive, massive fan of this. Getting more cabinet members over time is also going to be very, very powerful. And getting any kind of advance that will give you +1 cabinet size is going to be super valuable. And the countries that start with 3, as 2 is the generic, normal. Countries that start with 3, for example, like the Byzantines, the Ottomans, Florence, all start with 3, are going to be really enjoying that extra guy. You can use these on various things: developing provinces, coring things, increasing control, and there's been more added since this dev diary was made. S+. I'm sorry, just S+. This system is awesome. I am a massive fan of it. It is a massive upstep over what we have in EU4. S+. Onto laws now, and laws are a system that I like the idea of. I think everything that we've seen with laws looks good. But the fact is, when playing the game, I had a notification at the top of my screen saying, you have a couple of laws that you need to go and sort out. This was how many levies that I wanted to hire. If I'm going to have levies be, from 18 to 60-year-olds or whatever. And the second one was how I want to fill my buildings with workers, most profitable first come, first serve, etc. Other than that, I don't really think I changed many laws, because to change laws cost so much stability that it just never felt worth it. And I know that you can pass a parliament request to change laws and make it slightly cheaper, but it still felt way too expensive to actually change a law. It is a good system that I really like the idea of, being able to tailor make your country to what you like. And maybe if I play more, these stability costs will make more sense and I'll understand when is best to use these. But right now, I'm just feeling a little bit iffy about it. So I'm gonna pop it in maybe C plus right now, and I think perhaps part of this may in fact just be my own ignorance. I'm perfectly happy to admit that. On to advances though, and essentially what you need to do is compare this to the technology system in EU4. Tech in EU4, you have your 3 categories, and it is completely linear. Whereas now in EU5, we have a full-on tech tree, and I am in favor of it. I really like the tech tree. I really like that the institution system has come into this as well, unlocking new branches of the tech tree when you have unlocked various, whatever these are called, meritocracy. You don't start with as Florence, so you're unlocking this one. I've forgotten what it's called, and I apologize for that, but I think this is awesome system, and I am in favor of it. So it is a solid improvement over EU4. I'm gonna pop it in A+. Yeah, I'm gonna pop it in A+. I also quite like the fact that we're not going to be able to take absolutely every technology in an age. That to me means that you are going to have a situation where you're going to have to specialize your country and make sacrifices. The institutions coming in and the age is coming in and making you choose between what your focus is, giving you 10 unique advances that you will be able to take, but you're locked out of taking the other 20 from the Diplo or the Mill focus if you take admin, for example. I like that system. A lot of people didn't like it, but I kind of do. And it doesn't look like being a super literate, high research efficiency nation is going to let you take absolutely every advance, which I am, again, really in favor of. I don't think you should be able to do that. So, yeah, advances A+, perfectly happy with that. Common language. I don't know enough about how this is working. It is another mechanic, like I said, with the court language. I just can't justify giving it anything more than a D+. If it was something that was important enough for me to remember what it does, maybe it would deserve higher than D+. But honestly, yeah, we have poor knowledge of it, and even after I played the game, it wasn't something that impacted my campaign almost at all. I think maybe it will help if you have the same common language between two cultures, so the cultural friendship enemy system will be slightly easier, but again, there's not much there. On to banking-based countries, and I'm going to essentially rename this to non-standard countries. So I'm going to include the army-based countries in here, unless he already has army-based country in here somewhere. It does not look like he does. So yeah, essentially I'm going to say that this is the other types of countries. I think banking-based countries weren't really fit for purpose when we got to play the game, though I think the idea of them is kind of cool. I just don't know where the gameplay is going to be, where you are essentially, the way you make money is you take on other people's debt and then earn from the interest. Cool. Okay, fair enough. Well enough. But like, where's the gameplay in that? What do you do after that? I do know of a few people who are very, very excited to play the banking-based countries, and I don't understand it, but that's fair enough. But for specifically banking-based countries, I don't think I'd give it higher than a C. But looking at the other types of countries, specifically the army-based countries, I am entirely in favor of. I think army-based countries look really, really cool. The tribes, we talked already a little bit about the Golden Horde being an army-based country. I'm a massive fan of those. I think they are looking really solid and fun to play. But also, it's not really bank-based countries. Like, he's got it wrong. It's building-based countries, because it's not just banks. We're looking at things like the Holy Orders. We're looking at things like the daimyos. And having multiple different ways to play, and especially having this base level in the game at the very start where the game is released, I absolutely believe that banking-based countries and Holy Orders will get their own specific DLCs to really flesh out the way that they play. And while we know very little about it, I think the idea of them is a B+ idea that I'm really interested to see where it goes from here. Society of Pops, though. Yeah. So this is what America looks like with the Societies of Pops. But if you compare it to the non-Societies of Pops version of this map, you have this patch of countries here, we have a patch of countries here, and then the Iroquois up here. And that's it. Societies of Pops are entirely unplayable, at least on release. They are essentially a way to fill up the map with people, even though even this gray area still has people on it. I don't understand the reason that these guys exist if they are not playable. There's no gameplay there, and as far as we know, there's not even that much interaction that you can do with them. I'm just not seeing the reason for them, other than it is something that they're going to deal with down the line. Add some options, add some gameplay there in a DLC. I can see that happening, but right now it's a D. It's definitely a D. It's currently the worst placed system that we've looked at. On to Liturgical Language, though. This one we do know a tiny bit more of. So we know that the liturgical language of all Catholic countries in the game is Latin, and that the size of your liturgical language actually impacts the research progress that you get, your monthly research progress. So while I didn't, if I'd hovered over this in my video, I'd have pulled up that screenshot instead of this one. But essentially, you're getting a little bit of progress here for being a part of the largest liturgical language of Latin, and everybody who isn't Latin is researching a little bit slower, which is a little bit iffy, but it is, I guess, somewhat of a nice way of, while not historically accurate in the reasons why Europe advanced in the way that they did and kind of pulled ahead of the rest of the world. That might be controversial. I don't know. I don't think it is. But it's a nice way to simulate that without like hamstringing in extra just random modifiers, although I guess this kind of counts as an extra random modifier. Either way, the liturgical language being shared by two countries will increase their opinion of one another, and, you know, mostly to do with research, as far as I'm aware. I don't know of other mechanics in relation to it. So I'm gonna pop it as a C+. No, I'm gonna put it as a C. I'm gonna pop it as a C. I think that's fine. Control now, and this is another one of the S+ mechanics. I think control is a phenomenal mechanic that I am super, super happy with. I have here the dev diary from way back when, in April of 2024, so one of the very first dev diaries that they had, showing what control is doing. And essentially, control is a replacement for the autonomy system, but it's not just something that eventually will just go to 0 and you're happy with. Control is impacted heavily by the proximity of the location to your capital, and you can build roads to increase control, you can build a bailiff to increase control, and essentially this is, if you've played Mayo and Texas for EU4, what do they call it? It's a distant, like, how effective is your state at controlling these disparate regions? And I've completely forgotten the name of the mechanic in Main Texas, so shouldn't have even brought it up. Either way, controls the S plus mechanic. It is going to be, in my opinion, the mechanic that most impacts the capability of a country of doing a world conquest. I don't think world conquest should be the norm. I don't think they really should be effectively possible without cheesing the game in some way. And I think control is a big reason of why that's going to be possible, because you're not going to be able to get the proximity, the distance efficiency onto disparate lands, because they're just too far away. You can't communication efficiency, I think, actually is what it's called in Main Texas. I may have remembered it. You just can't communicate with your disparate territories, and I think it's really good. It works really well. The version that the YouTubers played a couple of months ago had what I think is a bug where newly conquered territory started with 100 control, so you could then just immediately make use of it to do your next conquest, which really aided in the blobbing. Hopefully that has changed and it's now going to be something less. I think maybe if it went to about 50% of the eventual equilibrium, that might be a good idea. So if the equilibrium is set at 66% control, then as soon as you conquer it, it would be 33. That might be a cool system. But otherwise, S plus mechanic, I think control is fantastic. I love it. But coring. Coring is a little bit different in EU5 than it is in EU4. Obviously, we don't have monarch points. You can't just click a button to get a core. Coring is done primarily through your cabinet. You can create a core via your cabinet, though it is going to take a significant amount of time for them to do that. And that time is heavily reduced by that place being the same culture as you are, or rather being an accepted culture. Unfortunately, that has led to, I think, an exploit is a fair way of describing it, where you can accept a culture to get a core, and then immediately unaccept that same culture, and you keep the core. I'm not sure I enjoy that exploit. I hope that's something that they can fix, and I'm glad that Zlevik pointed it out in his video, so maybe brought light to something that should maybe change. But other than that, I think it is a big improvement over EU4. So A is definitely where I think it deserves to be. Rebellions now. Rebellions are something that we didn't experience too much of in our playtest, because I think they were a little bit bugged and we just never really experienced them. Or at least I didn't. I don't know of anyone who did end up having a rebellion. We don't know too much about how they play, other than the fact that separatists will form their own countries now. There are a bunch of different types of rebellions. They'll form their own country to fight you as if they are just a literal separate country, which I think is a lot better than just popping up a hostile army that sieges and then you go kill it and jobs are good and it's solved. It is, I think, a better system than EU4, though we don't know enough to really decide where it deserves to be, so I'm going to pop it in a B+. Onto, though, the country rank system, and this was a controversial one, so much so that I think it was the first dev diary that got a massive, disagree stance set to it, to the point where the devs made a new Tinto talk where they changed basically everything. So looking at the country ranks now, we have great powers, we have kingdom, duchy, county is now the lowest level, and you do get bonuses based on how high ranked you are. Whether this is a good thing or not, I will leave up to you. Personally, I quite liked the system. I think it worked relatively well, and I'm perfectly happy to have bonuses for being a larger kingdom, or a larger polity. an empire should get more benefits than a kingdom, essentially. Though there is a double-edged sword, I believe, as empire ranks can have issues. They get a unique disaster, if I'm remembering correctly. So essentially, it's a decent. I think it's a decent mechanic, and I know that that's a controversial statement. Even this dev diary, I believe, had actually maybe not so many disagrees as I remember. But either way, it's relatively the same as in EU4, though with the lack of government capacity, which is the main reason you wanted to go up in rank. It's kind of lost its teeth just a little bit. So I'm gonna pop it in. I think B is relatively fine. The Hegemony System, though, is the one that was especially controversial, and the bonuses that you now get for being a hegemon have been toned down significantly. They've added multiple hegemonies over EU4 as well, so it used to be that you had economic, naval, and military, but now they've also added cultural and diplomatic hegemonies, and essentially you are going to get one bonus. So for economic, you get what's called unit food consumption. I don't really know why, but you also get some special actions that you can do. So the cabinet action for the economic one is reduced paperwork. You can increase the production efficiency in an entire area. That's cool. I think that's fine. Navals get ship damage done and increase maritime growth and harbor suitability. The military hegemon gets cheaper war score costs, etc., etc. You can read on the screen if you are so inclined. I am also fine with this. I like the hegemony system in EU4. I accept that it is slightly gamey, but at the same time, I really quite enjoy some gamey aspects. And I especially like that the bonuses you're getting now are a single bonus rather than a litany of really powerful things, and new unique cabinet actions I am really in favor of, because even if you get this unique cabinet action, there's still an opportunity cost. If I'm assimilating an area, I'm not increasing control, or I'm not coring, or I'm not doing a number of other things with my cabinet. So I don't know where to put this, because it is better than EU4. So could it still be? And a B works because it is a significant improvement over EU4. Could it still be better? Sure. A B plus. B plus. I'm happy with a B plus. Great power system is relatively the same thing. That's not the one I want to go for. Great power system, like, they're just there. You get extra power projection, prestige. It is not something that is too different from EU4, other than the fact that it is now weighted. So instead of it just being the top 8, it's the countries that are within a certain level next to the number 1. But you also get scaling bonuses. So if you're the largest great power, then you get the most bonuses. So yeah, that's fine. But yeah, like I said, the great powers list is now fluid on how many countries are close to the number 1 power in the world, which is an improvement over EU4. It is another system that is controversial. Not a lot of people were enjoying the fact that it existed. I am not one of those people. Sometimes I like gamey things. So sue me. B. Disasters system now, and disasters are similar in how they are in EU4, though they've gotten some significant improvements, namely a UI specifically for disasters, where you have, instead of in the decisions menu, when you have a disaster, sometimes you get a bunch of decisions you need to click to get through it. Now all of that system is in its own separate section. It is essentially the same system, but more nicely packaged, and it is a framework that multiple disasters can be put into without issue. I think this is like an easy A for me. It is just a significant improvement over EU4. I quite like it. I like that it exists, and yeah, good job on that. Colonialism. This is one where I am a little bit torn on. I quite like that colonialism is now, I'm sending my own population to, say, the New World, and I need to, the opportunity cost of either having my population in my own country or sending them over to the New World. There is a decision there. It's not a straight, yes, I'm going to do this. 2 ducats a month is not really a big penalty. Someone like Iceland is going to have a big problem with trying to colonize because they've got a very, very low population. So in that part, I think it's fantastic. The bit that really kind of holds me back on saying that this is a fantastic mechanic with no problems whatsoever is, in fact, the exploration system. I'm still not sold on it. We are essentially able to send out explorers. We know exactly where we're going to send them. We're spending, I think, sailors and money, and we know exactly how long it's going to take. We also need not a conquistador, an explorer, and his stats determine how expensive, how long it's going to take, the chance of dying. Although I think that has now been changed so that there is no chance of failure. But essentially what I would prefer as a system is, here's an explorer character. I'm going to give you some money and set you off in a direction. And then an amount of time later, I will have the guy return, or not, and I will be able to say, get new maps all in one go as this guy's returned and given me his maps. So I am torn. I think the system they have now for exploration is too gamey. It's not really gamey, but it's a little immersion breaking for me. Whereas I was kind of hoping for something a bit more realistic. But I quite like the colonial system, so we're gonna pop a B on that one. Moving on, though, to the estates, and this is another S+ for me. I don't even need to consider this. I am a big fan of the estates system, and we have an example of the estates here. We have, just like in EU4, we have a system of giving privileges, though unlike in EU4, all of these estates have populations related to them, and depending on how many there are and the basic power level of that group, your privileges that you give out may be quite powerful, they may be quite tepid, and essentially it's just an improvement over the system that we have from EU4, but linked in with the population system. Big fan of that. Some of the estate privileges that we can give, though, seem like no-brainers. For example, when I played as Florence, I gave about 10 privileges to the burghers immediately. I felt absolutely no pain in doing so. They were all good. Though when looking at the nobles and the clergy, really I could only consider maybe one in each that were good for me. But overall, I'm a big fan of the system. I also like the fact that these guys have their own incomes. The taxes that you are levying come from the income that these pops are making and this estate is making. And if you tax them very little, they may end up spending that money on constructing buildings in your country, which is just a fantastic improvement over EU4, where the estates just kind of just sat there and did nothing. So estates at S+, I think, is, again, it's a no-brainer. Moving on, though, to diplomacy, and essentially what we're thinking of here, or at least the way that I'm going to take it, is talking about the way that you have diplomats, and essentially it's no longer a case of, funnily enough, in a game that has far less emphasis on characters, EU4, it used characters, or actors, or whatever you want to say, for its diplomats. They could only do one job at a single time. They had to do envoy travel time and all that. Whereas now in EU5, where we have more focus on characters, we're kind of moving away from characters when it comes to diplomacy. Essentially, the amount of diplomat capacity that you have is determined on various things, including how much you're spending on your diplomatic capacity. And with that diplomatic capacity, you can do various things. So sending a gift or doing some diplomacy takes 1, and then you will grow an amount of capacity every month. So in this screenshot, obviously, he's gaining 0.3. You can spend this or reduce the amount that you gain a month to do various tasks like annexing, spy networks, opinion improvements, and more stuff other than that. And yeah, no, this is I like this more than I like EU4's envoys, especially when it comes to communication over long distances. Say if you have a colony and you want to improve relations with him, well, maybe I've stopped doing that, and now my diplomat is returning and it's taking like 3 months, but I need him right now to go and do another job. The idea that I don't have somebody in my country that can go and, say, do some diplomacy with the French is just kind of nonsensical to me. You know, I don't just have 3, 5, whatever diplomats in my entire country. This system, I'm a big fan of. I think it's great, and it is an improvement. We're going to pop a solid A on that one. I think a solid A feels pretty good. Back to the estates somewhat as we talk about the parliament system. And I have, again, pulled up my own video as we talk about parliament. Everyone's parliament, or I guess I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of countries' parliaments are localized in a way. It doesn't really change anything except a little bit of flavor. So as Florence, my parliament is called my priorato. And essentially what the parliament is I am going to call my priorato, and then as I've done that, I can choose where I'm going to call it. If I want to do it in my capital, it gives me some extra control. If I do it elsewhere, it gives me some decentralization. And then I can choose what I'm going to debate about. Conducting a census seemed to be like the most best one, but there's a bunch of things you can do, and you can't do census every single time. But after that, your estates will then start making demands of you. They call them parliament agendas. So the nobles here are asking for autonomy support, the clergy want to change a policy, the burghers want to increase opinion, and then the commoners want me to support communal values. Depending on how powerful my estate is dependent on how much of this bonus I get. And if I go over 50%, then my debate passes, and I will get whatever bonus you get at the end of your debate. The issue here comes with the very big disparity in what the things that they're asking for. Increasing the opinion of somebody, we've just talked about diplomats, it costs me a little bit of my diplomatic capacity. Changing a policy takes a little bit more than that. Supporting communal values takes a lot more than that. That is a much, much bigger investment than merely increasing the opinion of somebody. As well, if you are over 50%, then you get to ask your parliament for a larger bonus, let's say. So if I let the video move a little bit, of the 4 here, we have request additional taxes, which I've been told is quite good, though I never tried it myself. Prepare for war will let you have an insult CB war on somebody else. Insult CBs making war score costs twice as expensive. Asking for large levies, of course, increases your levy size, and then asking for law changes, as we talked about earlier, will make it so that it costs less stability to change a law. This I am the most torn about. Preparing for war seems to be the only way for a country inside the HRE to declare war on another country inside the HRE that I've seen so far, which feels a little bit iffy. The other ones seem fine to me, except, I mean, I never really saw the big benefits of additional taxes and larger levies, though, again, I'm told that I'm wrong on additional taxes. And law changes it still felt too expensive to change laws. So on this part, I'm not massively happy. On the various parliament debates you can do, conducting a census seemed like the absolute best thing here with the population growth. Maybe that is going to be nerfed a little bit. I think bolster the government was legitimacy or something else. I'm not sure. But I can imagine a future where a lot more different debates are added. I'm very much looking forward to that. I think that would be a great idea to increase the differentiance. That's not a word. just increase the amount, just more diversity, I guess. So the potential is there for debates to really be quite fun. But on that note, it is a possibility of improvements that could be identified. I definitely think is there. A plus, I think, is a fair assessment here. We got 2 more left. We got international organizations first of all, and this is a system that I think gets an S immediately. International organizations, to talk about them is to talk about so many different things, because it is essentially a framework by which so many different things can be added into it. So, for example, some of the IOs in the game are things like coalitions and personal unions, but we also have the Catholic Church IO, we also have the Holy Roman Empire IO, we have Crusades and Jihads, we have the Patriarch of the Orthodox Faith, we have the Tartar Yoke, the Middle Kingdom. There is so much that fits into this IO system. It is immensely powerful, and you can, especially if you're a modder, I think you're going to have a great time in playing around with it. The thing that I am less happy with is essentially the way that they're represented. On your screen, you can see right now where these IOs sit. They're right there at the bottom middle of your screen, and I hate that. I really, really dislike the fact that they're there. The other one that we have here is the Guelphs versus Ghibellines, by the way. If they were moved, like, up here, or just somewhere that wasn't literally in the bottom middle of your screen, I would be much, much happier with them. That is the big area of improvement that I can see. You can remove it here, but then the only way to get into your various international organizations is kind of doing a little bit of UI foo, which is a little bit awkward. But yeah, essentially, this is the only issue I see, which is why it's not getting an S+, and S is just, mechanically, this is where it belongs. Now, on to ages, the final thing we have to talk about. I am a big fan of where they are with these. Every time you have an age run around, it is about 100 years. You're going to get a whole new set of advances that you can start taking. The advances in the previous age will be much cheaper, and then you have new institutions that will spawn that will give you more advances again. It's a great system. It is a much better system than what we have in EU4. I think it is just a flat improvement across the board. There are a couple of things that you can do as well to tailor-make the game to what you would prefer. So each of these institutions had a historical spawn location, and he goes into where these are. So, for example, the Renaissance historical location is in Florence, but if you want to instead have it to be a little bit more dynamic, you have a game rule for that. It will spawn in somewhere like Florence, but not necessarily in Florence, and I think that is really cool to add to the game. You can also have just, like, completely random, I think, as well, something like that, but yeah, you get some game options. It's very nice. System works, it's good, and it gets an A+. So, that's where we're going to leave this part of the tier list. We got up to the 40th row, and we've got another 20 or so left to do. But, yeah, let's have a look at our tier list as it stands so far. We are absolutely filling it out. Having double the amount of S+ as we have S is interesting. Usually they don't work this way, but I think we're filling this in nicely. But I would like you to tell me in the comment section below where you disagree with me. If you agree with me, just, I don't know, give me a thumbs up, and a comment is also nice, but give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you disagree with me on anything here, do let me know, because I would be interested to hear your perspectives as well. There will be one more, maybe two, if I end up talking a crap ton about pop demands. Maybe I will, I don't know. But stick around for that. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.